Hey, I'm Circle Strafe, and welcome to episode 8 of the Dante's Inferno rundown. In this episode, we're going to be covering pouches 1 to 4 of Circle 8, the Circle of the Fraudulent. This is going to be the final episode, where we go over additional details about the Inferno outside of the main story. After this segment, it should be plain sailing all the way through to the end of the series. For this episode, we're going to round off our story of Dante and his work by talking about Dante's later life. What happened to him after he wrote Inferno? In around 1315, Inferno was completed. Soon after this, Florence was forced by the leader of the military free company in charge, a man named Uguccione, to grant amnesty to any Guelph that was in exile. This was done under the condition that a heavy fine be paid by those provided amnesty. While some took up the offer, Dante strictly refused. He stated that he preferred exile to begging dishonourably to return to his home. After Uguccione was killed in the siege of Padua in 1318, Dante received another offer to return to Florence. His death sentence was to be commuted if Dante accepted house arrest. This was also done under the condition that Dante swear he never enter the Florence main city again. Dante once more refused, and in reaction, Florence extended his existing death sentence to his sons. Dante already felt like his exile was his death sentence, as he was cut off from much of his family, his heritage and his history. He hoped that he'd be welcomed home honourably someday, but fully expected to never return. Much of Dante's later professional life revolved around diplomacy. Remember that he was a valuable politician and statesman with a lot of respect. In 1321, Dante completed work on Paradiso. Very soon after this, he likely contracted malaria, and he died when returning from a diplomatic journey to Venice. He never achieved his wish to go back home. Dante's body was buried in Ravenna, where he spent a lot of his exile. On his gravestone are some words by Dante's friend Bernardo Cannaccio. They say, "Florence, mother of little love." In 2008, nearly 700 years after Dante was thrown out of his beloved home, the municipality of Florence officially apologised for expelling him. Our poets now look over the 8th circle of hell. Dante describes it as malibogge, roughly translated as evil pouches or evil pockets. The circle is a cavern of dull reddish coloured rocks. Hewn into the stone are 10 trench-like chasms where different aspects of fraud are punished. Dante describes it like a series of moats with bridges built across them. The closer you get to the centre, the more serious the sin, and the worse the punishment is. Our poets walk towards the first trench, or as Dante calls it, the first pouch. The nude sinners inside walk back and forth alongside the two walls of the pouch. They are the panderers and seducers. When the sinners reach a demon standing on top of the pouch, they are whipped by that demon and forced to walk the opposite direction. Amidst the souls, Dante spots Benedicio Caccianamico. The soul tries to hide its face. Dante asks Benedicio what brought him to hell. Reluctantly, the soul states that he managed to get his sister, Gisola, to do sexual favours for a marquis for money. This makes him a panderer, or almost like a pimp. A demon intervenes suddenly and strikes Benedicio, telling him to move on. The poets continue onwards towards a small bridge, and Virgil says to Dante,
"Peer upon the souls wandering aside that wall."
Dante sees Jason of the Argonauts amongst the tortured souls. He is punished for abandoning Hypsipyle. He promised her fidelity and sailed away anyway, forgetting his vows. This makes him one of the seducers. Upon reaching the second pouch, a putrid smell drifts over the pair. Dante sees souls consumed in a mound of excrement and sewage. They sigh and they cry out, these actions turning into mould on their bodies. Dante feels as if he recognises a man, but as he points him out to Virgil, the man goes wild, demanding Dante explain why he picked him out amongst the filth. Dante confirms the sinner is Alessio Intermine of Lucca. Alessio states that he suffers for his endless false flattery. The punishment in this pouch reflects the sinner's flattery as excrement. The sinner retreats back into the filth. Virgil points out another soul named Thais. She was a prostitute who is punished for thanking her lovers excessively and insincerely after sex. Virgil says they have seen enough of this pouch, and the pair turn away to continue onwards. Our poets move on to pouch number 3. Dante knows immediately that this is the pouch of the simonists. Simonists are holy men who sell their power to perform favours for others. Their punishment is to be buried upside down in holes the size of baptism basins, with only their feet protruding from the rock. The soles of their feet are also on fire. Their punishment is eternal suffocation and immolation. One of the souls has a much hotter flame than the others, and is clearly enduring much more torment than any of the other sinners present. Dante decides to go down and get a closer look. The sinner is Pope Nicholas III. Nicholas says,
"Ah, Boniface. I'm surprised you have arrived in hell so soon to take my place."
The sinner is confusing Dante for Pope Boniface VIII. Our poet corrects him, stunned that he is being compared to a man that he hates so much. Nicholas tells his story and explains this pouch of hell.
"I was once the Pope. I wore the great mantle of the papal office. In life I was a simonist, but I promised it was only so that I could fatten the purse of my family, not myself. And for that I suffer."
Nicholas explains that the successor in this punishment always takes the place of their precursor. Directly beneath him are cracks in the rock where other popes are buried. Boniface will one day come to take Nicholas's place in this inverted prison. Nicholas would then sink further into the ground to make room. It is clear that the entire bedrock here is lined with simonists for many layers, completely buried upside down. Dante looks down on the sinner and asks how much Christ charged St. Peter before giving him the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Nothing. Dante pronounces the punishment just, and then continues for a while insulting all corrupt men of the church. At one point, he calls the papal seat a woman of the night, who fornicates with kings for money. Virgil is very happy with Dante, and assists him out of the pouch so that they can continue onwards. Dante is shocked to find a procession of naked souls when nearing the fourth pouch. The heads of these sinners are on backwards, with their necks twisted 180 degrees. As they suffer, they weep, with their tears dripping down to their buttocks. These are the fortune tellers and diviners, punished for wishing to see the future, a realm of God's knowledge. These people are forced to walk backwards, because that is the only direction they are now permitted to see. Virgil scolds Dante for feeling any pity towards these sinners at all. He looks down on them all, judgmentally. Virgil points out Amphiaraus, a king who foresaw his own defeat and then ran from it. He also points out the grotesque witch, Manto. Virgil sidetracks a little to tell the story of his hometown's origins.
I am from the town of Mantua, named for that witch, Manto. Manto ran from war-torn Thebes after the death of her father. She settled in a foul-smelling marshland. Others came to realize that the marsh was unassailable and settled there as well, forming the town. I dare you, Dante, to discredit my interpretation of this tale.
Dante concedes authority to Virgil in this matter and asks Virgil to name more of the souls. Virgil does so, pointing out Calchas from his own Aeneid and Asdente, the soothsayer. Virgil says that the moon is sinking to the horizon, so they should make haste onwards. The poets move over to pouch number 5. That's it, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for liking and subscribing up until now, and for all of your great feedback so far. It means a lot. Consider checking out the Patreon page if you want to support the channel further. If you're new to the channel or new to the series, click here to start from episode 1, or click here to check out another series we're doing about mythical creatures. We'll see you in the next video. Toodles!